Watching the night sky when there are no bright lights and the atmosphere is clear can be a fascinating experience. Look at the sky on a dark, clear night. Observe it carefully. You will see the entire sky dotted with countless twinkling objects. These objects are called stars. Some stars are bright and some not so bright. The star-like objects which do not twinkle are planets. The stars, the planets, the moon, and other objects in the sky are called celestial objects. If you observe the moon continuously for several nights, you will notice that there is a visible change in the shape of the moon every day. The day on which the whole disk of the moon is visible is known as the full moon day. Thereafter, every night, the size of the bright part of the moon appears to become thinner and thinner. This phase is called waning. On the 15th day, the moon is no longer visible. This day is known as the new moon day. The next day, only a small, thin portion of the moon appears in the sky. This is known as the crescent moon. Thereafter, every night, the size of the moon grows larger. On the 15th day, once again you will be able to see the full moon. This phase is called waxing phase. The various shapes of the bright part of the moon as seen during a month are called phases of the moon. The phases of the moon occur due to the relative movements of the earth, the sun and the moon. The moon does not produce its own light, whereas the sun and other stars do. We see the moon because it reflects the sun's light. We are able to see the different phases of the moon because we only get to see that part of the moon from which the light of the sun is reflected towards us. The result is the phases of the moon. The moon is a fascinating object for poets and storytellers. It is almost 400,000 kilometers from Earth. If you go near it, you will find that there are many craters of different sizes on its surface. The moon's surface is dusty and barren with no water. It has a large number of steep and high mountains. Unlike the Earth, there is no atmosphere on Moon. Look at the lunar module of Apollo 11. Observe the footprints in the sand. They are Neil Armstrong's footprints. He was the first man to walk on the moon. Notice how even after 40 years, the footprints are still clear. They look clear and shall remain so for millenniums. This is because there is no air on Moon to blow the footprints away. The Sun and the celestial bodies which revolve around it form the solar system. The solar system consists of a large number of bodies such as planets, comets, asteroids, and meteors. The gravitational pull of the Sun keeps these celestial objects revolving around it. A planet has a definite path in which it revolves around the Sun. This path is called an orbit. The time taken by a planet to complete one revolution is called its period of revolution. Besides revolving around the Sun, a planet also rotates on its own axis. The time taken by a planet to complete one rotation is called its period of rotation. There are 8 planets that revolve around the Sun. The 8 planets in their order of distance from the Sun are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Exposed to the full glare of the Sun lies Mercury, the nearest planet to the Sun. Mercury rotates very slowly. One day on Mercury is about 58.5 Earth days long. Mercury has no atmosphere, which means that there is almost no air on Mercury. These factors contribute to the fact that the surface of Mercury has the greatest temperature range of any planet in our solar system. The surface temperature on the side of Mercury that is closest to the Sun reaches 427 degrees Celsius, while on the night side the temperature drops to minus 183 degrees Celsius. Mercury has no natural satellite of its own. Rotating slowly and in the opposite direction as almost all the other planets is Venus. Venus has no natural satellite of its own. It is almost identical in size, gravity, and density to the Earth, and it also has an atmosphere. On the surface, Venus has volcanoes, mountains, and sand. The temperatures on Venus can reach almost 482 degrees Celsius. Venus is global warming at its worst. The atmosphere contains mostly carbon dioxide, making Venus a highly toxic place. Venus is mostly covered with yellow clouds, which reflect sunlight, making it the brightest planet in the sky. It appears in the eastern sky before sunrise, or sometimes it appears in the western sky just after the sunset. Therefore, it is often called the morning or the evening star, although it is not a star. The Earth is the only planet in the solar system on which life is known to exist. Some special environmental conditions are responsible for the existence and continuation of life on the Earth. These include the right temperature range, the presence of water, suitable atmosphere, and a blanket of ozone, and just the right distance from the Sun. The Earth appears blue-green due to the reflection of light from the water and landmass on its surface. The Earth's axis of rotation is not perpendicular to the plane of its orbit. The Earth is inclined to its orbital plane at an angle of 66.5 degrees. This tilt is responsible for the change of seasons on the Earth. The Earth has only one natural satellite, the Moon. The first planet outside the orbit of the Earth is Mars. Mars appears slightly reddish, and therefore it is also called the Red Planet. Its red color comes from iron oxide or rust in its soil. The surface of Mars is full of dirt with rocks everywhere. Mars has higher mountains and deeper canyons than any other planet. It also has the biggest volcano in the entire solar systems, Olympus Mons. Mars has two small natural satellites, Deimos and Phobos. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system. It is so large that about 1,300 Earths can be placed inside it. However, the mass of Jupiter is about 318 times that of our Earth. Jupiter rotates very rapidly on its axis, creating storms in its atmosphere. Most of Jupiter's storms seem to never end. Jupiter's great red spot, visible in the picture above to the right, is where a giant storm has been raging for at least 300 years. Observe 4 of its large natural satellites. Jupiter has 63 confirmed natural satellites, which is the largest number of satellites for any planet in the solar system. It also has 3 faint rings around it. Beyond Jupiter is Saturn, which appears yellowish in color. What make it unique in the solar system are its beautiful rings. There are 7 rings around Saturn. These rings are not solid, but rather are made up of particles of ice, dust, and rocks. Saturn is the least dense among all the planets. If you were to throw Saturn in a huge ocean, Saturn would float on it. Saturn has 62 confirmed natural satellites. Titan is the largest natural satellite of Saturn. It is the only celestial object other than Earth where liquid has been found. Rotating from east to west is Uranus, the 7th planet in the solar system. Uranus is unique in our solar system because it is tilted 98 degrees. Its atmosphere is composed of hydrogen, helium, and methane. The temperature in the upper atmosphere is so cold that the methane condenses and forms a thin cloud layer, which gives the planet its blue-green appearance. Uranus also has rings, but they don't stretch out as far as the rings of Saturn. The rings of Uranus are made up of black dust particles and large rocks. Uranus has 27 confirmed natural satellites. The last planet of the solar system is Neptune. This planet has large dark circles on its surface, which astronomers believe to be storms. Neptune has 2 thick and 2 thin rings which surround it. Neptune also has 13 confirmed natural satellites. In addition to planets and moons, there are other celestial bodies in the solar system, such as meteors and meteorites, comets, and asteroids. There is a large gap between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. This gap is occupied by a large number of rocks that revolve around the Sun. These materials were never incorporated into a planet because of their proximity to Jupiter's strong gravity. These are called asteroids. Some of them can be very large, while others are as small as a grain of sand. Asteroids are leftover materials from the formation of the solar system. By dating asteroid falling on Earth, we know that the planets were born 4.5 billion years ago. A meteoroid is a piece of stone-like or metal-like debris which travels in outer space. If a meteoroid falls into the Earth's atmosphere, it will begin to heat up due to friction with the atmosphere and start to glow and then disappear. This is called a meteor. Meteors look like bright flashes of light that appear suddenly in the sky. They are also known as shooting stars. Larger meteoroids that do not burn and evaporate completely in the atmosphere and reach the surface of Earth are called the meteorites. Meteorites' strikes on Earth can cause massive damage. Craters are formed on Earth's surface as a result of the impact of the meteorite's strikes. Comets are the most brilliant and most rare objects in the night sky. A comet is made of rock, dust, water ice, and frozen gases. When a comet gets close to the sun, part of the ice starts to melt. Sunlight bounces off the comet's ice particles in the same way light is reflected by a mirror, making them shine brilliantly. The solar winds then push the dust and gas released by the melting ice away from the comet. This forms the comet's tail. So, if a comet is traveling towards the sun, then the tail will follow behind and will become longer. But if the comet is traveling away from the sun, the tail will be in front of the comet and becomes shorter as comet again freezes. Besides the moon, artificial satellites revolve in orbits very close to Earth. Artificial satellites are always launched from Earth. India has also launched various satellites. Some of these artificial satellites are Aryabhat, INSAT, IRS, and Kalpana-1. Artificial satellites are used for various applications like radio and television signal transmission, weather forecasting, remote sensing, and telecommunication.